welcome to Big C Energy. I'm Alison Haislip, and every episode I am going to be joined by a guest, and we are going to bitch about cancer because cancer can be a real dick. I am not just the host, I am also a current breast cancer patient. In August of 2025, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. At the time of this recording, I am about 7 months post my double mastectomy surgery. I am 2 months past my last chemo treatment. Can you tell how happy I am? I'm feeling so much better. I'm just 2.5 weeks post my second reconstruction surgery, which also means I have the port taken out of my arm, which is even better. I've got about 6 months left of immunotherapy, and I've got 5 years of hormone therapy ahead of me. So I have been going through it. And today we're going to talk to someone who has also been going through it, but he's gone through it multiple times, and I can't imagine what that takes. I think it is safe to say that he has a gold medal in facing cancer. We are talking to Olympic and world champion figure skater Scott Hamilton. He's joining us from Nashville. Scott, thank you so much for joining us today.
Wow, you are in the throes of it right now.
Were you having a little PTSD listening to it all?
No. In fact, my 29th anniversary is right now of going through chemo. Yeah, and then I had the surgery in June, and then they kind of threw me out and told me to get back to life. So that will be your future, you know.
My gosh.
Yeah, but it's like with our health, it's always something,
It's always something now.
And we always take our good health for granted. It's like I feel really good right now, but I've been sort of lazy about working out. It's like, oh, I'll live longer, I'll have better quality of life. I'll get to it tomorrow, maybe, but it's just that, it's just cancer is one of those things where it kind of shakes us out of our funk. And it's like, oh, I want to go back to what I was doing before. That was way more fun than this. But I will say for anybody out there that's watching this, that's just starting their journey, it's like, it's 100% what you make it.
Yeah. Gosh, you're so right. It's really interesting that you said that, because right after my diagnosis, I was telling a friend, I was out to coffee with a friend, being like, okay, I have some news I have to tell you. And in the midst of that conversation, I was like, man, I just remember thinking at the beginning of this year, which was beginning of 2025, that I felt stagnant and I needed something to change. And I was like, but I didn't mean this. This is not what I wanted.
Yeah, but I will say, just the long view, cancer is the best thing that ever happened to me.
So many people have said that to me. Truly have said that to me.
Yeah, it's sort of like a wake-up call in a way, but it's also, it reroutes your sensitivities, it reroutes your priorities, it reroutes your thinking of, how do I actually want to live this life? Now that it's been threatened, how do I want to live? And for me, it was like a big old fork in the road. And it wasn't like I always talk about, the fork in the road. It's not a left or right fork. It's an up or down fork, right?
Ooh.
I could have allowed it to just crush me and take me out and just, throw a big lifelong pity party, or I could have started the climb. And when I started the climb, I realized, this is way better. The view's better. And I'm going to have to go through some change and some things that, and then have to deal with the, Western medicine, which is always fun, and insurance, which is never fun. And then,
oh my gosh,
just sort of all of the sort of aftermath stuff, until you get to remission. And, I look at that word remission. It's kind of like, okay, where's it hiding? It should be, that word should be taken
right
out.
There.
Yeah, take it out. Just take remission out of the conversation, and let's call it a period of vigilance.
Oh, okay.
So that's it. It's 5 years. They call it 5 years, and then you're in remission. It's like, no, for 5 years, we have a period of vigilance, and then I'm going to go about my life.
Yes.
And I tell people all the time, how you truly know you survived cancer? When you get mad in traffic. Because you're 100% back to sweating the small stuff. It's like
sweating the small stuff. Yeah.
Who cares? I'm alive and I'm able to do stuff. And it's up to me. It's up to you. It's up to anyone going through this. How do we want to do this? And man, that fork in the road, it took me to, I went to the one place where I knew I could be left alone, isolated, and just sort of given an opportunity to sort it out without being bothered. And that was Los Angeles, California.
Oh, yeah. And what a quiet and peaceful place.
Well, no, it is. You can be, you know how alone you can be in Los Angeles?
Right.
You know, it really is. And it's funny that after 3 years of sort of like, I'd be out on tour and then I'd come back to LA and I just sort of play golf. And I had some great friends, you know, and things, but I just shut it down. You know, just didn't do a lot. And then I met my wife on the 3rd anniversary of my diagnosis.
No way.
And I did a big old fat timeout because I just felt broken and scarred and ugly and all that stuff. Traumatized, yeah. But it was more like, I got a second chance at this. I got to figure out how I want to do it. And my mom didn't get a second chance. You know, and I know so many people that have so much, you know, they want to do, and yet they, you know, until they go through something like this, they just sort of put it off. Like right here above my head is an hourglass. I don't know if you can see it.
That. Yeah.
So I was speaking at a fundraiser for cancer research in New Jersey, and it was a really fun event. And it was they were talking. It was for cancer research because the host of it, his brother died of cancer. But when he was given his diagnosis, they said we can't cure you. We don't have a solution for this. And he said, "Can you slow it down?" And they go, "Yeah, I think we can slow it down." Yeah. And he goes, "How much time can you give me?" And they said, I'll give you a year and a half. And so for the next 5 years, he lived a life that he never would have had he not been diagnosed with cancer.
Right.
And it gave his life incredible value and quality and excitement and all the stuff that we put off thinking, well, we'll just do that later. It's no big deal. I'll just get to it next year, the year after, the year after. When you've got something like that on you, you kind of go, no, I think I want to do it right now because I just don't know what's going to happen next. And that's okay. It's okay to not know what's going to happen next. It's just really okay to take ownership and charge of where you are right now. And that's kind of, you know, our bodies are susceptible, fragile, vulnerable to countless things, equally resilient.
But also so incredible.
Yeah.
That was something that I learned on this whole journey is like the amazing, so we've had about a 2.5, 3 week stop down because I had my second surgery, like I said at the beginning, and I did not have eyebrows the last time we recorded this. And I have eyebrows now.
On my body, and then I was like, okay, you know, God's doing that anyway. I'm just going to let it go. But when you get done with chemo, like how long have you been off chemo? You said 2 weeks?
It's been 2 months. 2 months. But my eyelashes and eyebrows fell out like almost right at the end. So like literally 3 weeks ago, I did not have eyebrows, and now I have eyebrows again. And it's the most. No, please laugh about it.
Yeah, no, but when the hair comes back, it comes back really thick, and it comes back with a vengeance. I grew a beard in 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
So this is my hair. I kept my hair because I did cold capping. Yes, I know. This probably didn't even exist when you went through chemo. No. But they froze my scalp during all of my treatments so the medicine doesn't get into the follicles. And so I've kept my hair, but it requires such insane maintenance. Like I've only been able to wash it once a week. I couldn't blow dry it. I couldn't use heat tools on it. I couldn't put it in a ponytail. These silk headbands and scarves are the only thing that have been able to touch my hair in 6 months. Wow. So it's incredible that it worked, and I am so grateful for it. Yeah. But it also is like so wildly annoying.
Well, you know, you're talking to somebody that totally understands that hair is overrated. You know,
yes.
Like I get out of the shower, I'm done.
Yeah.
Done.
Gosh, that's amazing. You know, I did go into that. I'm actually glad we're getting to talk about this because we haven't talked about this on the podcast yet. But I wasn't precious about my hair. I actually was like, if ever there was a time in my life to try out being bald, now is the time.
Absolutely.
But one of the drugs I had to take, one of my chemo drugs, has a very small percentage of causing permanent hair loss. Ooh. And I was like, well, I really want to avoid that. And so the cold capping would help prevent that. And now that I've gone through it, understanding how awful I was feeling during chemo, if I was also looking in the mirror and not looking like myself, I think that would have had a bigger toll on me mentally than I would have anticipated at the beginning.
It can. I was on tour with Stars on Ice, and I was 50 cities into a 60-city tour, and it was a rough year. The year
and this
before,
is your initial diagnosis, right? You're on
this
tour,
is the
so
year
you're not even
I was
home.
diagnosed. Yeah, I couldn't stand up straight anymore, and it was starting to really. When you're a figure skater and you can't stand up straight, that's not really a good look, But I mean, it was a horrible 2-year period. It was Katya Gordeeva's husband, Sergei Grinkov, died at 28 of a massive heart attack during rehearsals.
Oh my gosh!
So, and he was one of my favorite humans on the planet. I just love Sergei, and so then it was all about shoring up Katya, and she was a pair skater, so now she had to learn how to skate by herself, and she had a 3-year-old daughter, and I was devastated. I was absolutely beyond devastated. So the stress of that, and then the next year, I'm going in, I'm failing at relationships, and my life's out of balance, and I'm thinking about Sergei and his young life, and how I'm just in my 40s, and I'm just like. Ugh, I'm like, I've got everything I never thought to dream for. And yet I'm just failing everywhere. And so I finally get to a point where I think I worked myself into an ulcer. And so I went into an emergency room in Peoria, Illinois, and the doctor there was amazing. He just said, "We found a mass." And it's like, "Oh, wow." And he goes, "What does that mean?" And I go, "Why are you laughing?" And I go, "Because I'm 5'0". I've never heard the word mass in description of me before. And he goes, no, you need to take this thing seriously. And I said,
yeah, you're like, this is not a good thing.
I go, why? And he said, because it's either benign, malignant, or something else.
Oh, gosh.
And so I realized in that moment, I was 2 months shy of the 20th anniversary of losing my mom, who's the center of my universe, to cancer. And I'm being diagnosed with cancer. And in about 3 hours, I'm taking the ice for a Stars and Ice show in Peoria.
You had a show that night?
Yeah, that night. So the doctor was kind enough to drop me off at the rink,
He did?
And, he taught me, I was still in the emergency room, just sort of getting sorted out. And he knew I was in shock, But I got to the rink and everybody's asking, what did they say? And I go, it's inconclusive. We don't really know yet what's going on. I probably have to have a few more tests and stuff, but skating tonight. And they're like, oh, okay, well, really, they don't know what's going on. I'm skating tonight. So after the show.
How did you mentally do that? How did you?
It was funny because it was part sort of driven to have a great night because it's probably my last show ever.
We can laugh about it now, but
no, but I mean, I was being Mr. Melodramatic, and you know that the musical Smokey Joe's Cafe?
Yes.
Do you know the 11th Hour song in Smokey Joe's Cafe?
Yes.
I who have nothing.
Oh gosh, those are the lyrics.
That was my number that year. I was skating. I was experimenting, trying to do something different, and I was skating to I who have nothing, and I was totally in character. I'm just like, I have nothing. I'm sick and I'm going to die and I'm going to lose my life and career. And I never appreciated it. It was always about the work. I got to be better next year than I was this year. I've got to come up with new ideas. I've got to build an audience. I have to. And then I kind of, I'm skating this number and I'm like, my throat's thick and it's hard to breathe. And it's really dramatic. And I come around to build up speed for my big jump, like triple Lutz, which was the hardest jump I ever did in competition. And I was still doing it all these years later, year 13 of being pro. And I go to set it up and I look into the front row because I like to be aware of what's going on in the audience. And I see a woman and she's like,
oh. And you're like, hey, lady, am I not doing enough? For anyone who's just listening, Scott was miming, doing her makeup in the mirror.
She was doing her makeup and fixing her hair, and she could not care less what I was doing on the ice. And I'm like, I burst out laughing. I go, come on, you're just being a stupid guy. You're like, this is your deal. Go for it. Just go be the best patient ever. And I was still laughing when I did the triplets and I landed, my leg was kind of wobbling a little bit. And I was just like, okay, I just landed my last triplets in my life and let's get through the rest of this number. And after the show, I had a tour bus. It was March of the tour is always like early calls or sleeping all night in a bus and all these different things. So I just decided I was going to get my own bus just to have some solitude. And so I was 2.5 weeks into, having my own bus, and the driver goes, Dayton? I go, nope, we're going to Cleveland. And he goes, oh, change of plans. I go, yeah, tour's going to Dayton, I'm going to Cleveland. So I called my manager, he got me into the Cleveland Clinic, and the morning I arrived, they gave me a biopsy the next day. It was almost theater, it was 4 doctors with the clipboards, and they're all in their white coats, and they sit down in front of me, and you have the fertility guy, and you have the general care guy, and you have the oncologist guy, and you have the urologist, and they're all in front of me. And they said, we found the source of your problem. And I go, oh, yeah, really? What's going on? And they go, you have stage 3 germ cell tumor, testicular in origin. It's like, nope.
Wow, they knew you were already stage 3.
Yeah. And it's like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to. No, I go, what? It's I have the cancer that's down there, and they go, yeah, you have testicular cancer. It's like, nope, and they go, no. Here's what they said. You're gonna love this. They said, if you had to choose a cancer, this is a really good one.
Yeah. Oh, I was told that I was going to be, quote, just fine because I had very average cancer. And I'm like, well, it's not average for me.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's the best thing you can hear.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It means we've got a plan. We've got something we know we can do. 50 years ago, my cancer had 5% survival rates.
Oh, wow.
It's 95% now. And when I was going through it, it was 80 to 90%. So I knew I was going to be fine because I kind of felt like I was in better shape than most people at my age.
Right.
So I just said, hook me up, let's go. And so I did, for, I guess it was about three months of like 5 days, 8-hour infusion, chemotherapy, 16 days off. 5 days,
significant.
8 hours infusion, 16 days off. After round 3, I was without a hair on my body. I couldn't touch my toes. I was bloated because they were hydrating me like crazy.
Well, and did you have to take steroids?
No, I was.
Okay, so steroids are
the protocol.
Steroids are part of my treatment, and the water retention from having to take steroids, that was one of the worst parts for me.
Well, I'm on steroids for life now because of my brain tumors. But anyway, let's not rush.
We'll get to those.
Them, they. But it was just, I started to kind of allow for all those little tiny voices that try to get in there to get loud. And that was like, your life is terrible. You're sick, and I wasn't that sick. I was chemo sick, which you can control if you know how to get ahead of the side effects and everything else. But,
mitigate is the word that they said to me constantly. Mitigate. You can mitigate the side effects. Yeah,
I love that. Mitigate. I love that. It's a nice word I don't use, but that's a good one. But anyway, it's just every Friday I would have a shot. It was about as big as my thumb, and it was a 30-minute push just because they couldn't do it all because it's called bleomycin. It's sort of like a antibiotic that kills cancer. So every Friday I called them Bleo Fridays. I get this push, and I would say, take your time. We don't need to rush this. Yeah. And at 90 minutes, almost to the second, I would start, my skin would start to tingle and ache, and then I would start to feel kind of flush. And the only thing I could do was just lay down and try to sleep it off. And I hated Bleo Fridays, Oh. And so my doctor, who was this amazing guy named Dr. Ronald Bukowski, very serious guy with sort of a really wicked, dry sense of humor. Love the man. I have so much respect for him. We're done with chemo now, and I have one more Bleo Friday. And he calls me up, and he goes, I'm looking at your numbers, and I think we're just going to skip the last bleomycin. I didn't even call him Dr. Bukowski. I said, Ron, if you were standing right in front of me, and I'm a heterosexual, I would kiss you on the mouth. I don't want to do that anymore. It was awful.
It's like the greatest gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so great. I just felt like I won the lottery. I didn't have to do another Blue Friday. But that's kind of like it becomes your normal. You know, it's like, I got to do this and you have to do that. And this is required. And it's just sort of like, you know, you got to go through your requirements in school and you've got to, you know, I'm not going to diminish it. It is what it is, you know, but it really was wild that when I lost my mom, I decided I want to become a fundraiser. I wanted to see if I could come up with, you know, resources to give to cancer research scientists to help find a way to solve her cancer. Because there wasn't anything for her. They just threw everything they could at her, and she suffered and she died. And I thought, well, I'm going to be a fundraiser. How old was
she? Yeah, how old was she at the time, and how old were you?
I was 18. She was 49.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So, I mean, you know, it was awful. But so I just became a fundraiser, and then 20 years after I lose her, now I'm a cancer survivor. And survivor's guilt is always tough, right? It just is, you know.
I say I have imposter syndrome with that. I'm like, I don't feel like I've survived anything because I don't, because it was so clear cut for me at the beginning, and like I know people have had it way worse. That I feel weird taking on that title, I guess.
But we're given what we can endure always, right? So now that I have like, you know, the card that says I'm a cancer survivor, right? You know, it's like I can, you know, show that around. I decided that, you know, there were things about my journey that didn't seem right. And that in my second generation, I was going to be a cancer fundraiser for research, but I also wanted to make the next journey better for the next person going through cancer. And so the first thing we announced was a mentorship program called the Fourth Angel. When you go through cancer, you know this because you've been through cancer, is you have three angels in your life, right? You have your oncologist, you have your oncology nurse, and then you have your friends and family.
Okay.
That's your team.
Yes.
What's missing is the fourth angel. And the fourth angel is somebody who had your cancer, has been treated for it, and is now on the other side as a survivor, who works as a mentor, life coach, and a role model.
I had so many of those. I'm incredibly lucky that I had so many of those. And also I think it's utterly absurd how many women I knew or were put in touch with who have had breast cancer. It's kind of crazy. But I'm so glad you say that, because it's one of the biggest reasons I wanted to do this podcast, is because I felt like some of the best help, the best information that I got during this journey was from talking to other patients.
Of course.
And I wanted this dynamic to talk to other people who have gone through it so they can hear what we've gone through and hopefully take something away from it that is just as helpful, because the doctors and nurses can only do so much, and your friends and family who haven't gone through it aren't going to know what to say all the time. And I definitely found that out a lot.
Yeah. And that's it's awkward. You know, even when my mom was going through it, I'm sure I did and said things because I was an 18-year-old knucklehead, and 18-year-old boys need their moms desperately. And I just didn't know what to do for her. I was sort of at a loss. And so, I probably wasn't the best thing, you know, for her, but I was going to be in my next life. And when I was life without her, I was going to find a way to honor her and everything I did. And so the last time she saw me compete, I was 9th, you know, very close to the bottom. And I lost her. I said, well, how am I going to do this without her? And I said, well, I don't have to. I can keep her with me and just have her hold me accountable. And so I did that. And the next year I was 3rd in the United States and ranked 11th in the world. And then 2 years later, I'm on the Olympic team. And then I went 4 years undefeated. Mm-hmm. You know, now as cancer survivor, you know, we created the Fourth Angel mentoring program. And then for 5 years, I was the organ grinder's monkey, just trying to raise enough money for a website that would explain chemotherapy, how it's administered, all the drugs, every single drug listed, how they work, what they're designed to do, you know, and then associated side effects. And then there's another section of how to mitigate those side effects. Yeah. So it's all in 8th grade English and Spanish, because when I was going through it, the internet was relatively new, and all that was available to me was medical journal papers with 12-syllable words in there.
Right. And you know, the drugs also have multiple names. So do you remember how many drugs you were on or which drugs you took?
3.
You had 3 chemo drugs. Yeah. I had 2, and then 2 immunotherapy drugs, which are the ones that I still have to take.
Immunotherapy is that's kind of the promise. Our bodies created the cancer. Why can't we teach our bodies how to detect and destroy it? It's doing it 24 hours a day. I mean, it's looking for things that don't belong, and it's killing them and discarding them. But something about cancer is different. So if we can teach our bodies, our immune systems, how to recognize the cancer, it's like game over. I can't believe, since we put the stake in the ground to be a research organization after Fourth Angel and ChemoCare, we decided that we were only going to fund targeted therapies and immunotherapy. And it's amazing that 3 years later, the first one hit the market.
That's incredible.
So we got asked, a research scientist asked, goes, how did you know? I go, well, I'm smart.
Listen, you're clearly smart enough to make all of this happen. I don't even know if it has anything to do with smart. You're empathetic enough.
I think it's just, I was adopted at 6 weeks of age, so there's a lot of, weird things about that, but I guess I just always wanted to have a better understanding of why I was born. It's really wild how you can build a life just by being intentional on things. And it's really extraordinary that the more I learn about other people, the more I'm inspired to kind of take on some of their approaches to life and incorporate them into my own. I'm not very good at it yet, but that's my intention.
Since you are a pro athlete, or you were pro at the time, physically that must have felt like such a change. I can't imagine going from being at your fittest to being purposely made to feel awful. So, I mean, that's what it is, right?
Like that was the thing that I kept.
I just kept complaining to my mom. I was like, I'm not actually sick. That's the frustrating part. I feel awful, but I know I'm not actually sick. They're making me sick. But how did you deal with that mentally? And then also, did you do anything physically to help you through all that?
I wanted to be a good patient, so I didn't really feel up to being sort of active when I was going through chemo. And at that time, I was sort of at the peak of my professional career, and just being out, I didn't feel like being out in general population or anything. So I just kind of stayed home, just ride it out. Cleveland Clinic was great. I had a great room, I had great nurses, I had phenomenal, medical care. But, when I was home, I just shut it down. I just didn't do much. I just wanted to ride it out. And then, so after chemo, I had to wait 6 weeks for a surgery, which was sort of, it starts at the sternum, goes all the way down to your groin. It's a 38 staple surgery where they open you up and they go through everything. So now I'm a skater who needs core strength. That's been disrupted. And I have a seam, so when I go up for a backflip, like my whole torso kind of stretches, and now it doesn't want to. And so our physical therapist on tour had all this scar cream, and she would just work on me every single day to kind of open up the scar and get it so it was pliable and so it would move and so it wouldn't be stuck. And I just keep pulling it. So my return to the skating was very intentional, and it was very fierce. I just wanted to get my life back.
Yes, I've thought that so many times during this. Like, I just can't wait to get my life back. Yeah, and I'm saying that as a normal fitness human being.
Yeah, but I mean, you're in a very unique industry,
True.
And there's a lot of demands that go with that industry. And there is such a thing as chemo brain,
Oh my gosh, like nothing else.
I know, it's bizarre. It's actually a thing. And a lot of people just say, it's all a chemo brain, but it's a real thing. So it's learning how to manage your sort of ambitions and your expectations, as well as pushing the envelope constantly to get not only your life back, in a way that really feels like you're in control, but also that, you can thrive. Thrivership is different than survivorship,
Ooh, Thrivership. That's
a Robin Roberts thing. That's a Robin Roberts thing. Yeah.
Yeah. The catalyst for this podcast came about in January of this year, at the beginning of the year, and I had gone through two 2 or 3 rounds of chemo by then. And then this opportunity came up and I was like, yes, let's do it. And to the producer's credit, they were like, we're on your timeline whenever you're comfortable to start. There is no rush. And I was the one who was like, let's get this started as soon as possible. How incredible would it be to do this like while I'm still going through chemo? And like, I feel like the universe knew better because things always take a little bit longer to get started than what you think. And so the ducks just weren't all in a row to start before I finished chemo. And now that I'm aware of how I felt during those last 2 rounds that I had, I'm like, okay, there's no way I would have been able to like pull it together for this. So we started just after I finished.
Oh, and again, it's just, we make plans, God laughs, and but nothing is wasted ever, because now this is a huge part of your story. It's a huge part of your timeline, your experiences. And in that, you had a heart to bless others just by talking about it and making, creating a destination where people can understand that, they're not alone in this, because cancer could be a very, very, very lonely business.
The difference between you and me, though, is I feel like you're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And me, selfishly, there's part of me that's doing it because it's the only way I know I'll get through it. Like, it's helping me process. It's helping me move forward,
And our needs are always going to be so unique, to kind of who we are. I'm a guy, when they start talking about, that cancer and fertility and all these other things, it's like, I don't want to think about that because I can't even,
because you did not have children yet at this point.
No,
correct?
No. I was failing in every possible way except in skating.
Oh gosh.
I was not good. I was not a good person to be in a relationship with because my whole thing was, I was lopsided. I was on the road. I was away. I just wasn't, I wasn't a good one to be around. Right.
Right.
And
do you think cancer was kind of a turning point for you and all of
100%.
that?
Yeah. Well, cancer was sort of like an exclamation point on that. Mm-hmm. And I needed to step away and just sort of try to figure out a way to become whole again, just as a person. Like I was a skater. Yeah. I was an entertainer. Right. I was a touring athlete. I was personality. I was a broadcaster. I was a pitch person for Target stores. I was a million things. I just wasn't a good partner, and so I needed to kind of just find a place to heal. And I ended up in LA, and it was great. It was perfect. The weather was great. Golf was great. I got to meet a lot of really cool people. And then when I got back on the road and, went back to my life, it was kind of like, okay, I made it back and I toured for 3 straight years and hard and really took my game back up. And no, I'm not ready yet. And then I met somebody backstage on the 3rd anniversary of my diagnosis.
What a significant date.
Oh, it was crazy. But I thought she was a date of a friend of mine. So I was like, okay, let's step away right now. She's like amazing. But that's Tony's date. Step away. And then a few months later, I was talking to Tony and he said, that wasn't a date. I'm like, oh. He goes, did you like her? And I go, that wasn't a date. And he goes, no. And I go, yeah, I did. I liked her a lot. And he said, I think she's moving to LA this week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Here's the crazy part. After I met her backstage and talked to her for like 10 minutes, my heart jumped a little bit and I was like, wow, amazing, incredible woman. It's like, wow, Tony's a lucky guy. And so I stepped away because that's what, friends do. And on her way home, she was with her cousin. Her cousin said, how was backstage? And she goes, oh, I talked to Scott for a little bit. And she said, what's he like? And she said, that's the type of man I see myself marrying someday.
No way.
I was already in. And then here's a really cool thing. Those are the things that I think if we can encourage the next person going through this.
To understand something like that can be on the other side.
We're in the memory business.
Yeah.
We're in the relationship business. We're here to collect as much as we possibly can, because I started to say it earlier, our bodies are susceptible and fragile and vulnerable. They're also resilient, but they're also ultimately temporary,
But he's pointing to the hourglass again.
The hourglass. And I look at it all the time because I want more sand.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yes.
want more sand. I'm going to fight for more sand. I just want as much sand as I can fit in that thing. I want more sand. And I think that's what most people want. And so, with CARES, all we do is raise money and invest in research because we want to give people as much sand as they're supposed to have, not something interrupted by cancer and not something that, is going to disrupt their lives or create something that, I feel that we should be allowed to live our full lives, and in that I'm a parent of 4 children and I do want to be a burden to my children. And that's my goal.
I hope you threaten them with that every time they misbehave.
Every day.
Okay. So talking about like having more sand, I want to get to those in your brain because you had a second diagnosis. How many years after your first? 7.
So when I was little, I was adopted, so my parents didn't know if I was going to be, short or tall or lean or fat. They didn't know anything, right? So everything was just sort of like, let's just see what happens, and they were both in academia, but they weren't going to force that on me, knowing that I could, who knows what I'm supposed to be doing. Right. And so I stopped growing at age 4, right?
Oh.
I just stopped growing. I stopped developing. I started looking like one of those starving kids that you see with the distended bellies and the no muscle tone. I kind of started looking like that a little bit. And so for the next 4 years, I would go from hospital to hospital to hospital to hospital with no diagnosis. Oh. And we finally went to Boston Children's, which is the best, right? At that time, it was the best. And I had every symptom of a disease called Shwachman-Diamond syndrome. But Dr. Shwachman himself said, you have every symptom, but you don't have the disease. So I can't treat you if I don't know what this is. But all I can do is send you home and say, live a normal life and see what happens. If we can't diagnose something, we can't treat it. And we're not going to treat something that we haven't diagnosed. So go home, live a normal life, and let's just see if you outgrow this thing or if it passes. That was medicine in the mid-late 60s. So we go home, and our family physician came over and told my parents they need a morning off after 4 years of financial and emotional and physical stress. They need a morning off, and they had just adopted another little boy. I guess just in case.
Oh no!
No. But they wanted
a spare.
A spare. Oh no. My mom wanted to love as many kids as she could possibly love, and so my little brother was there, and they wanted to have time with him, and so I went to with my doctor's daughters to a brand new skating rink at Bowling Green State University where they taught kids how to skate every Saturday morning, and I just went to the rink and just started trying to figure out how to be a skater. And I was always the shortest. I was always the sickest. I was always the weakest. I was always the istest, so I get on the ice and I realized I could skate as well kids. That's a pretty good day. Right. Yeah. And then after a few more weeks, I realized I could skate as well as the best athletes in my grade. And for the first time in my life, I had self-esteem and something, I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden, I started to grow again. I started to develop muscle in my legs, and I started to be able to take a full breath of air. And all the symptoms that were just oppressing me started to subside. And my parents are like, okay, this is working. We're going to do this. So I became a skater, and no one ever really knew what was going on. And
that was wild.
So I go cancer, and now I've got a brain tumor. It's like, really? Come on. Why does this have to be my life? And so they said, we can't diagnose something. We can't treat it. We can't diagnose something. We can't treat it. It's like destroy my life. Yeah. So they went into the top of my head, a little hole right there. And they went in, they took a piece of this tumor. And they said a lot of bad things can happen in the surgery. You could lose speech. You could lose motor function. You could have a stroke. You could lose memory. And I was like, oh my goodness, my life's going to be a disaster. So I woke up, I looked up at the clock. It was 10:20. I knew who I was, where I was, why I was there. And I went, test. Oh, I can still speak. Okay. I wiggled my toes, wiggled my fingers. That's like, I guess it went well. Doctor came in smiling. My wife came in smiling. The doctor handed my wife a piece of paper and said, this is the brain tumor. I just want you to know what it is. We've got different ways of treating it, but get familiar with it because, we're going to figure out what to do next. And so she looked at it.
How did you get diagnosed with it though?
I
were you having symptoms? Vision. Oh, okay. So there was a reason.
Really weak.
Yes.
So I didn't have any testosterone in my body. I could barely get out of bed. And then I had no peripheral vision. So
got it.
My wife's reading this piece of paper that the doctor gave her. And she said, oh my goodness, listen to this. I go, what? And she goes, craniopharyngiomas are usually detected early in a child's life due to a lack of growth and development.
Oh my gosh. Mystery solved.
So how am I supposed to feel, have a pity party for a brain tumor that gave me everything?
Right.
So it's like sometimes the things that happen in our lives have unique sort of qualities to them that allow us to step into something that couldn't have happened without it.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
I mean,
I wouldn't have been a skater without my brain tumor, and I would not be a husband and a father of 4 children without my cancer. So many stories that go with this because I had a recurrence 6 years later, surgery that didn't go well or as planned. That one surgery turned into 9. And then,
oh my gosh.
And then I went blind in my right eye for a little while. And then some of it came back. And then 6 years later, I see a pattern emerging. It came back again.
Oh.
And after I went through radiation on the first one, second one was a surgery that did not go as planned. And now I have it again. And the first time, it ignited my faith. The second time felt like getting kicked in the stomach.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And the third one, what would you think would happen?
I can't listen. I can't even wrap my brain around the fact that I've been diagnosed with this once, and now you're telling me you've had to go through this so many times, and you're still sitting here like you're smiling and laughing about it. I can't even comprehend that.
It's beautiful. These complexities of life and these little things that come across that I've learned are meant to nourish me, not debilitate me. Right?
Yeah.
So when this one came, the doctors give me, we can do surgery again. It's going to be a little complicated because the last one didn't go as well as planned. I go, blah, 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 blah. Then a doctor came in and said, we just found a new targeted therapy that will shrink it. It won't get rid of it, but it'll shrink it, buy you some time, whatever. And, so those are your options. But the whole time they're talking to me, all I can hear, and it's not an audible voice, but it's this overwhelming sort of on infinite loop in my brain, get strong. And I was like, oh, that's weird. What's that? Get strong. What do you mean, get strong? I don't know what that means, get strong. And he goes, no, just don't worry about this. Just get strong. And I was like, this is the strangest thing I've ever experienced in my life. I should be terrified. I should be on my knees praying. I should be like, another kick in the stomach.
You have like a Nike ad running in your back.
Yeah, just get strong. Yeah, just get strong. And so the doctor said, well, what do you think? And I go, well, I think I'm going to go home and get strong. And they go, what does that look like? And I said, I have no idea. So I got
your guess is as good as mine.
And I thought, am I supposed to get strong physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually? All of the
above.
And so I did what I did in high school. I just chose all the above. And I just started becoming more intentional and just living hard and working out and being healthier and being, just anything that would give me like health. I would just participate in that. And I went back to get another MRI a few months later. And they said, you're going to get good news today. And I said, oh, wow. And they go, it didn't grow at all. It's like, wow,
right.
that's fantastic. Come back in 3 months. So I go back to getting strong. 3 months later, I go back and they go, you're getting good news today. I go, it didn't grow? And they go, no, it shrank 45%.
Oh, my goodness.
And I asked the surgeon, I go, can you explain that? And he said, God. That's way good enough for me. Wow, he loves me enough to do this.
A doctor of Western medicine saying that.
It shrank again, 25% more. So then I just sort of, it'd grow a little bit, and then it would shrink, and then it'd grow, and then COVID happened. And then I had some visual stuff. So I went back to Cleveland Clinic to have him look at it. And he goes, it actually looks better than it did 5 years ago. Go home.
Oh, wow.
Come back and see me in a year or two. You're fine. And, but it's all the things we learn. Like, can you believe how strong you are?
I'm only laughing because I feel like something I've said to my friends is like, I already knew I was a strong person. I didn't need to prove it to myself, but apparently the universe feels like I needed to.
But can you believe what you're now able to share with other people to strengthen them and to embolden them? Can you believe that you have now experienced an unveiling of something that you never would have anticipated without this adventure? And it is an adventure, because adventures have so many unknown qualities to them, but they're also what you make them. Mm-hmm. Right?
I've been calling it my really lame journey that I've been on.
It's not a lame journey at all. It's an empowering.
But adventure's a way better.
Yeah, it is. It's a journey. It's an adventure. But it's now you're different. Physically, you're a little different. But, but who you are inside is a powerful, like, Xena warrior princess, right? That, is now you have a significance and an importance in your community that you didn't have before. And you're using it through this podcast for good. And I hope you draw a huge audience, because, you deserve it. A lot of times people just want to just sort of go back to their homes, shut their front door, and not engage. You decided the first thing you're going to do, even while you're going through treatment, is to engage. And you're going to use this to bless other people. That's extraordinary. That's extraordinary. And it's probably nothing that you ever would have thought would have happened.
Not at all.
But it is.
Not at all.
But it is.
But thank you for saying that.
Well, no, you deserve all the praise in the world. And we're never given more than we can endure. And, our lives are, fragile, resilient, temporary. So we've just got to milk that cow for everything we can get out of it. And, at the end, you can look back, and you can look back. Now we're looking forward. But, there'll be some time in the next 40, 50 years where you're going to look back and you're going to go, wow, all of that because I was able to survive cancer.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Just awesome. So
I truly can't wait to be saying something like that. I mean, I already have had my fair share of blessings during this journey, and I've been jokingly referring to them as my silicone linings, because part of my journey is I have new boobs now. But there's definitely a wild amount of good that comes out of something so daunting and awful at times. But along those lines, I also wanted to make sure we talked about your book that you have out, because, you and I are having this conversation for other adults to listen to, but I've constantly felt like, because yes, it's right there behind your shoulder. I see it. I don't have children, and I've been grateful for that on this journey, because I can't imagine having to one, take care of someone else while all I could do was take care of myself. And two, how to even explain that to a child. And I feel like this book, just tell us about the book, because I feel like it's probably an incredible
Fritzy
thing.
Finds a Hat. It's actually the brainchild of a woman named Mary Coffeen. She is of the Moffitt Cancer Center, an amazing woman. And I told her the story of my mom, who came home from her doctor's visit with very upbeat, family meeting, let's sit down around the table, let's have a family meeting. It's like, well, what's a family meeting? And she just, in a very cheerful way, she said, okay. I've just come from the doctor, and I've been diagnosed with a disease called cancer. And back then, it was like, mid-70s, you didn't even say the word. I mean, like big C energy, right? It's like, it's like you don't say the word. It was the C word, right? So she was super happy and super cheerful. And I realized that, in her background as being someone who was sort of an expert in marriage and family relations, she understood that it's how you deliver the news that allows everybody to be a part of it, right? So our job was to figure out how to support her. and she was very, I need some help around the house and I'm going to need, and then she said to me, she goes, we're broke. We're going to get you through one more year of skating, make it count. So I was always close to the bottom, and so that year I go to the nationals and I look over and my mom had a sling on because they removed her left breast and most of the inside of her left arm. And she was wearing a wig because she was, she lost all her hair and she had a big smile on her face. And I was like, what is up with you? And she goes, I'm great. I'm wearing the sling so people don't bump into me. It's pretty crowded here. And it's like, what kind of drugs they have you on? Because this doesn't make any sense to me. And she goes, you skate, we'll be fine. And I went out and I won nationals. I won junior nationals. And it was like, wait, no, I'm last place guy. I'm not first. And she got to see me win. And she always had this dream that someday I'd go to the Olympic Games, someday. And so after that competition, I was going to move to Denver and take from a coach who that year was coaching a girl named Dorothy Hamill to an Olympic gold medal. So I won the lottery.
Yeah, heard of that.
Yeah. So I'm like working with the most successful coach in the world, and I'm sponsored. And I turn 18. It's called the trifecta. I was 18 years old, fully sponsored, and living in my own apartment for the first time. The trifecta. Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. I made it to nationals, and of course I came in 9th, and that would be the last time my mom would see me skate in competition. And so, my mom was awesome. She was very, very upbeat throughout. She would say things like, oh, this chemotherapy, I finally found a way to lose all this weight.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, this chemotherapy, I've wanted to quit smoking all these years. Now I have no desire. Oh, this chemotherapy is fantastic. My hair has always been so unattractive and difficult. Now these wigs are so easy and they're so beautiful. And every now and then at the dinner table, the left prosthetic breast would pop out and it would be like a game of hot potato. So I wanted to be like that when I went through my cancer. I said, nobody's allowed in my room unless they make me laugh. You had to make me laugh because I wanted to remember that as laughter. I didn't want to remember it as fear, anxiety, a sickness. I wanted to. So people would come in wearing skinhead wigs or Beaglepuss glasses or a lot of whoopee cushions, a lot of funny movies. And that's what my mom gave me. She gave me all of that. So Fritzy Finds a Hat is about a little skater boy whose mom comes home with a cancer diagnosis. And she says, oh, I'm probably going to lose my hair. And he goes, I'm going to make her a hat. So his adventure is to make her a hat. So I reached out to a friend of mine. Actually, the reason why we moved to Nashville was because we met a guy named Brad Paisley and his wife, Kimberly Williams Paisley. And they talked us into moving to Nashville. Because I didn't want to really... The
country music star, Paisley.
Brad Paisley. Yes. So he and his sons drew all the hats in the book.
Really?
Yeah. So those are all his hats.
That's adorable.
Yeah, it was a family project, and he was very, very serious about it. And then another illustrator did all the characters, but it was a fun shared thing with Brad, and it was to honor my mom, and it was a nice, gentle way to introduce cancer to children through a really beautiful little book that's fun to look at. And it's done really, really well. We've gotten some great. The Spirit Foundation came behind us to fund us to get this into a lot of hospitals and cancer centers and places like that. So people would have unique resources in order to share things with their family. But my mom, she did it about as well as it could be done, and I'm really grateful for that. My mom died of a really aggressive form of breast cancer. And for a long time, there wasn't much. It got a little better, but not much better. Survival rates are still pretty sketchy. And so we came across an immunotherapy research program at Mass General, I guess 5 years ago. And on the 40th anniversary of my Olympic gold medal, I invited Brian Orser, my silver medalist, and Joseph Ovchik, the bronze medalist, to meet me in New York for a cancer fundraiser under the bridge at, the Brooklyn Bridge. They had a pop-up rink, and we're going to do a fundraiser. And I was given my talking points at the end of the night, and in those talking points, I was able to announce that the Dorothy Hamilton study in immunotherapy for metastatic melanoma breast cancer was going into a clinical trial. It's a pretty good day. 47 years.
Another great anniversary, yeah.
47 years of fundraising. 47 years later. And hopefully there's now an immunotherapy treatment that would be effective and prevent another 18-year-old boy from losing the love of his life.
Yeah.
That's why we do what we do.
Yeah. As someone who is currently on an immunotherapy, you're making me realize what went into even creating that so I can be here to say that.
Yeah.
Scott, that's wonderful. I ask all of our guests, because I think this is very important to anyone who may be listening right now, going on their own journey. But what would be the best piece of advice that you would give to someone who's been given a big C diagnosis?
Embrace it. You can't fight it off. It's happening. It's going to happen. Embrace it. Set your own ground rules and just go into it with the mindset you're going to be the best patient that they've ever seen. And you're going to ask great questions. You're going to get the support you need from a survivor who's going to be there next to you. You're going to be a student of the game. And I always tell people, especially if they get that initial diagnosis, that I have a Murphy's Law poster. I was a big believer in Murphy's Law. Murphy, if it can't go wrong, it will, that type of thing. And one of them was, where you stand on something depends on where you sit. If you're sitting across from a hemonc, you're probably going to get infused. If you're sitting across from a radiation oncologist, you're probably going to get radiation. If you're sitting across from a surgeon, you're probably going to get cut. So it just comes down to, I kind of came to this opinion that I don't believe in second opinions. I believe in seventh opinions.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Maybe the person across the desk from you is the last person you want treating you. You don't know that until you do a little bit of homework, and your medical records belong to you. Shop it around. Talk to different people, different modalities. If you feel great about where you are, if you feel 100% confidence, that's great. I would still, verify.
Shop around.
Yeah, but again, just learn. Prostate cancer affects 1 in 8 men. Yeah, find out how many modalities of treatment there are for prostate cancer, for breast cancer. There's so many different forms of breast cancer. It's finding out which one, how and what's the best way, and what are the greatest success rates? What are the centers of excellence? It's just finding out and doing your homework, because, you probably walk through, 10 to 15 houses before you pull the trigger on one. You're probably going to be in 5 or 6 different dealerships before you buy a car. Why would you just say, let's go, when you're given a diagnosis? Yeah. So it's about taking ownership with enthusiasm. Not only am I going to do this, I'm going to do it as well as it's ever been done, and I'm going to beat it, and I'm going to live my life, And again, it just comes down to the hourglass. It's like, if they can't treat me successfully, give me time. Just give me time.
Sand.
And if they can, then I'm just going to be a great patient, and I'm going to do this thing as well as it's ever been done, and I'm going to be the best patient. And this is your life now. Let's make it as great as it can possibly be. Otherwise, cancer likes fear. Cancer likes negativity. Cancer likes anguish. Cancer likes all the things that create acidic environments in your body.
Yeah.
It hates laughter. It hates bravery. And I heard it said once by a cancer survivor, courage is fear that said its prayers. You can't have courage without fear. You just can't. And if you need to be on your knees, pray. If you need to be, just rallying the troops, rally. But, in all of that, you're going to come out of it somehow better. And I know a lot of people don't survive, but I can tell you that my life probably would have looked a lot different had my mother survived.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if I would have had that intensity, if I would have been able to approach, and I'm not saying it's a good thing that she passed, but I'm just saying that everything she ever sacrificed and dreamed for it was a teaspoon compared to the ocean that I got to live in. So, we just gotta, everything's gotta be honoring those that have come before us, learning from them, and just passing it forward. Cancer can strip away a lot of stuff that prevent us from being our best. And if we live in gratitude and humility, it's not a bad way to live.
Not at all. Not at all. Thank you for this, Scott. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'll tell you this now, that I am an Olympics fanatic. Like, I am the person who every 2 years, clears my schedule. My TV is on, 24/7. I'm cheering for sports I've never heard of before. I'm cheering for athletes I've just learned their names like a couple weeks earlier. Like, I love the Olympics. And I just kept thinking going into this conversation just about how dumb it is that the reason I get to meet you is because we both had cancer. But now I feel like as this conversation has ended, I'm like, oh, this is exactly why I was supposed to talk with him. Yes, exactly.
Well, I mean, I always joke to people, I always say, we're all in this thing together. And I look at, all these crazy divisions politically in our worlds, and all these different things about different faiths not getting along or whatever. And I just look at it, I go, no, we're all in this thing together. And it's really important just to lead with love, lead with kindness, lead with respect. I asked my closest, dearest, longest, oldest friend, I said, what was the best advice your dad ever gave you? And he just said, be kind.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine? If we all led with that, just be kind. Yeah. It's all gratitude and humility,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just hope that people that latch onto your podcast, your messaging, they understand that they're much greater than they think they are. And they're much more powerful and much more sort of impactful and important to the people around them than they ever give themselves credit for. And that they step into this position of power and authority and they just own it. And they inspire the next person to rise up and live maybe better than they've ever lived before.
Scott, thank you so much. Oh. Thank you so much for joining me today, for just being as candid and vulnerable and funny as you have been.
Well, when you're a short, bald guy, you better be funny because you're never going to be a leading man. That's all I can say.
I appreciate your humor on this so much. I hope everyone who's watching or listening, they check out Fritzy Finds a Hat with illustrations by country music star Brad Paisley, which is probably the fact of the podcast for me on this.
It's a small world. You wouldn't believe it.
Scott, you absolutely brought the Big C energy today.
Thank you
for that.
It's fun. I enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you so much.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah, and for everyone who's watching and listening, if you have your own diagnosis at this time or you are on the sidelines, we just encourage you to please always trust your gut, advocate for yourself, and bring your own Big C energy.
And I learned to say, go fuck yourself.